The house was enveloped in an unsettling stillness that afternoon, a silence so profound it drew attention to the soft hum of the fridge and the distant serenade of birds outside. I found myself in the quiet solitude of the living room, idly turning the pages of a magazine, my mind wandering far beyond the printed words. My husband, Richard, was off on yet another business trip, leaving me to navigate the quiet of our home alone. I remained unfazed. It had become a familiar dance, a ritual steeped in unspoken desires. Yet the void loomed larger than ever, a lingering sense of longing that I couldn't quite place. I stole a glance at my phone, yearning for a message or a call, yet the screen remained disappointingly silent. The stillness accentuated the monotony that had woven itself into the fabric of my existence. Familiarity wrapped around me like a warm embrace, yet it also stood as a wall, keeping the thrill of the unknown at bay. I was captivated by Richard, or so I believed. Yet, as the days unfolded, an undeniable change began to weave its way through the fabric of our connection. Desire had evolved into a warm familiarity, yet that very warmth had slipped into a languid ease. The soft click of a car door closing shattered the stillness, a prelude to the unspoken tension that lingered in the air. I stole a glance through the window, my heart fluttering as I watched my nephew, Paul, approach the house with an air of innocence that belied the tension in the air. He was the son of Richard's younger brother, a connection that stirred a complex web of emotions. I opened the door to find Paul, my nephew, standing on the porch, a confident smile on his face, carrying an air of familiarity. "Greetings, Paul. What draws you to this place?" I inquired, concealing my astonishment. Uncle Richard requested that I retrieve some documents he had forgotten, his gaze glimmering with an alluring charm. "I trust this moment finds you well." I gracefully moved aside, inviting him into my world. "Not in the slightest. Step inside if you dare." As he stepped inside, I couldn't help but admire the way he glided through the space, bringing a refreshing energy to the space. He carelessly flung his bag onto the couch, his gaze sweeping the room with a mix of curiosity and desire. "A lovely setting, just as I remember it. Your taste is truly exquisite, dear aunt." A soft laugh escaped my lips, brushing aside the compliment with a hint of playful defiance. "Sweet words may not save you from the consequences. What documents do you desire?" Paul offered a nonchalant shrug, a subtle gesture that hinted at deeper, unspoken emotions swirling beneath the surface. "There seems to be a matter concerning the property documents, perhaps." As he made his way to the study, I couldn't help but ponder the stark contrast between him and Richard. Paul exuded a captivating spontaneity, his charm wrapping around me like a warm embrace, and his energy and enthusiasm reminded me of a past sense of excitement. I dismissed the notion, a hint of embarrassment creeping in. He was, after all, a part of my world in a way that felt both familiar and forbidden. But then Paul returned, his sleeves rolled up, revealing a tattoo on his forearm that hinted at secrets untold. Paul caught my gaze lingering on his tattoo, a knowing smile crossing his face. "Do you enjoy it?" he inquired, a playful glint dancing in his eyes. "It's intriguing," I responded, a flush of warmth creeping over me. We settled into a cozy corner, our conversation flowing effortlessly as we exchanged stories and laughter, each moment filled with an unusual sense of intrigue. Paul's stories danced with vibrancy and wit, a tantalizing escape from the dull routine that had enveloped my days. In that fleeting instant, the world around me faded into oblivion. My partner, my obligations, the delicate dance of societal expectations. It was just Paul and me, two souls entwined in a bond that danced on the edge of the unspoken. Our conversation unfolded effortlessly, enveloping the space in a warmth that had long eluded me. Paul reclined on the couch, our gazes intertwining for a heartbeat longer than necessary as he spoke. There was an undeniable allure in the way he absorbed my every word, his attention a captivating presence that held my attention. In a fleeting moment, Paul extended his hand toward the glass of water resting on the coffee table, and our fingers brushed against each other, igniting an unspoken tension between us. The encounter was fleeting, yet it ignited a smoldering memory that clung to my thoughts. I instinctively withdrew, a nervous laugh escaping my lips, yet the warmth creeping into my cheeks betrayed the thrill of the moment. "Do you ever feel drawn to unexpected adventures?" Paul inquired, his voice fading into a whisper as he gazed at me with a fervor that sent a thrill through my veins. Though Paul spoke with an easy demeanor, the intensity of his gaze bore into mine, igniting a spark of something unspoken between us. Without hesitation I replied, rising to put a subtle space between us. The warmth envelopes us, a gentle reminder of the closeness we share. I immerse myself in the kitchen, seeking solace from the unspoken tension that lingered in the air. Yet I could feel the magnetic pull of Paul's presence, even from the other side of the room. As I glanced over my shoulder, I found him poised in the doorway, his presence carrying a natural confidence that drew attention. "You seem different today," he murmured, his voice laced with a gentle intimacy. "In what ways does it diverge?" I attempted to mask my emotions with a facade of indifference. Paul's words took me by surprise, stirring something deep within me. I find myself at a loss, perhaps a deeper sense of vitality. His tone carried a depth of sincerity that rendered any thought of flattery utterly impossible to entertain. For the first time in ages I felt truly understood, and the intensity of that realization sent a shiver down my spine. "Paul, perhaps it's time for you to leave," I finally murmured, my eyes drifting away from his intense stare. "What is the reason behind this?" He inched nearer, his presence enveloping her in an intoxicating warmth. I responded swiftly with no explanation needed. Simply. He locked his gaze onto mine, and in that moment words eluded me. Perhaps I felt it deep within. Yet the words remained trapped, unspoken and yearning to escape. The atmosphere surrounding us was thick with tension, filled with unspoken thoughts and lingering curiosity. Paul was standing too close now, and I could feel the boundaries of my resolve beginning to blur. "This isn't right," I murmured, my voice barely escaping my lips, a secret shared only with the shadows and Paul. "I know," he murmured, his voice quiet but filled with curiosity. "Yet, doesn't it stir something deep within?" I gazed up at him, my heart pounding with an intoxicating thrill. In that fleeting instant, all else dissolved into oblivion. In that intimate space, it was merely the two of us, caught in a moment of unexpected connection, somewhere between past and present. Paul extended his hand, his fingers lightly grazing against mine, creating an undeniable energy in the air. I remained close, unwilling to break the connection between us. The room enveloped us, the space that once separated us dissolving into nothingness, leaving only the intoxicating closeness of our shared breath. My thoughts urged me to halt, to retreat, to ponder the repercussions that lay ahead. Yet I found myself frozen in place. As the tension reached its zenith, the creak of the front door swung open, abruptly interrupting the charged atmosphere. My heart raced as Paul and I hastily pulled apart, instinctively shifting our gazes toward the sound that interrupted our moment. My nephew, Paul's cousin, lingered in the doorway, his gaze a blend of uncertainty and intrigue. "Hey," Paul murmured, his gaze flickering between us with a hint of intrigue. "Have I stumbled upon a moment meant for two?" "No, certainly not," I responded, my laughter escaping like a fragile whisper, tinged with an emptiness that echoed in the silence between us. As Paul prepared to take his leave, he paused momentarily to gather some papers for me, the air thick with unspoken tension. With a playful smirk, Paul turned to his cousin, a glimmer of mischief in his eyes. "Indeed, is that so?" His cousin Eric arched an eyebrow, skepticism dancing in his gaze. As I struggled to regain my composure, Paul began to turn away, but our eyes met in a fleeting electric connection that lingered in the air. "It seems the moment has arrived," Eric remarked, his tone steady yet laced with an unspoken tension. "My uncle requested that I come over and collect those familiar papers once more." A wave of unease washed over me as the truth of Paul's deception came to light. Eric's presence lingered in the air, a tantalizing reminder of the boundary I had almost breached, and a rush of shame enveloped me like a warm, intoxicating tide. "I believe there has been a miscommunication," I said swiftly, my heart racing as I sought to reclaim the delicate balance of our encounter. "Paul possesses the documents already. Your presence isn't required here." Eric remained still, his gaze sharpening with a hint of intrigue. "How intriguing, he failed to mention your presence here." Paul shrugged, his relaxed charm remaining effortlessly intact. "I never believed it held any significance. We were simply indulging in a moment of reconnection. Nothing else matters." The words lingered in the atmosphere, appearing innocuous at first glance, yet brimming with a depth of unvoiced significance. Eric appeared to feel the tension, his eyes holding mine just a heartbeat longer than propriety would allow. With a final measured breath, he conceded, his voice laced with an unspoken tension as he turned away. The door left tantalizingly ajar, a whisper of possibility lingering in the air. The heavy silence enveloped them, filled with an air of curiosity and uncertainty. Paul's gaze lingered on me, a veil of mystery cloaking his thoughts.